Robert, it's a pleasure to be talking to you.
Great pleasure to see you again, Kevin. Likewise.
So this radar commission arrived and you responded to the challenge. Tell me what was going through your mind and why you came up with Good Trouble, Necessary Trouble for John Lewis.
I thought it was a great chance to express very up-to-date feelings about everything that was going on. I, in fact, attended Black Lives Matter march in June. I think it was quite soon after the terrible headlines for George Floyd. And I reckon it was earlier this year. I think I'd seen this amazing footage of John Lewis at a fair age on a chalk show from a few years ago, and at the end of this interview, he crowd surfed, and the distance between the seriousness of all that he'd achieved, up until 1968-69, let alone as one of the most sort of internationally famous congressmen in America. It's not actually always the case that happens, but his work over many decades had spread far and wide, and this was interlinked with this image of this eminent politician and campaigner having such great fun as well. I just thought that's an inkling into a personality of this amazing human. It would be great to spend some time delving in properly, because like many of us, black, white, pink or yellow, we've not done enough on so many great figures in black history.
So we're talking about a legendary figure in the civil rights movement who, as you say, enjoyed this incredibly long, illustrious career as well. Martin Luther King was cut down in the prime of his life. The opening line of the poem, Good Trouble, that you've written, is a pairing made famous by a man who also had a dream. So I interpret that as a reference to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the kind of the kinship and the solid bond between the two of them. Can you expand a bit on that?
He had, I think, heard him first speak when he was... John Lewis had heard Martin Luther King, I think, speak on a radio broadcast, and I think he might have been about 15. But their friendship, even given, the relative shortness of Martin Luther King's life, was many, intense years from being young. For obvious reasons, Martin is placed on such a intensely high pedestal. What becomes more and more overt with studying someone like John Lewis is that you've got a number of amazing figures, not all very well known. I place that sort of honour that is rightful for Martin Luther King upon each and every one of them. It's so amazing how the landscape of what you think this was is very different as soon as you start to piece together the amount of names, the amount of risk of life, etc., that was placed squarely in front of everybody who was taking part in this activity. So the bravery, the commitment, the staunch belief in something that they may not live to see is immensely inspiring. I actually have some of the books I was reading here that were such an inspiration for writing the music and the poetry.
Robert, we know you first and foremost as a pianist and composer and band leader, but I understand that you've actually been writing poetry for many years. Has that always been something that you've wanted to bring to the fore? Because you've written lyrics before for the compositions that you've recorded, but writing poetry and addressing a subject of this magnitude, has that been on your mind for a while, or is it a recent development, do you think?
I would say a few years, I think, but it's seeing, sitting in a generation now, seeing several younger generations experiencing what we thought had at least been more buried, if not completely buried. So seeing these cycles of hatred and racism and such sort of violent expressions, it's both addressed for myself, but as much to put forward and share and learn, but particularly to share this incredible work and the fact that it's an inspiration. It's a shame we have to continue and need to work so hard in these areas, but it is ongoing. And someone like John Lewis's life is a testament to how little things have managed to move, even with a good span of life and work that he did. So it's been a mix of things. It's grown out of the writing lyrics, the move from hearing a number of great singers interpret my words to actually just being okay with sitting and narrating full on it's been very, very incremental, very, very, very slow. But I look forward to more. This was not an overt plan. Years and years ago. It's come about bit by bit. Different ideas and dreams make themselves known. So I'm looking forward to do more.
So Robert, in the poem that you narrate, you name many important people, from Fannie Lou Hamer to Medgar Evers, James Chaney, Malcolm X. You give the sense of the movement, in inverted commas, being one that involved many people, and as you said before, it's a question of making sure that there is due recognition given to all of the people who contribute, regardless of the leaders. So there's that sense of the collective effort that comes through in the poetry. But also towards the end of the text as well, you ask questions. There's a tone which is challenging and if not demanding. So I'm thinking of the line in particular: where is today's Belafonte, Simone, Davis Jr., Bernstein, Bennett, Baez, and more? Who made sure the power of song was a vital component of the struggle's core? Tell me why it was necessary for you to adopt that tone as well, to actually ask questions as well as making statements.
Yeah. Well, as a musician, and then reading about one festival, that was with all these huge figures at the time, and kind of feeling that either there isn't enough of a comparable effort these days, or could be equally about us not seeing these type of efforts as they are overshadowed with more powerful publicity in other corners of the art, and that's whether it's jazz, hip hop, R&B, country, folk, so on and so forth. It's one thing to write a great song, put it up online, but without the push, without the money to put it on a billboard, it's a different type of experience. But the closest comparison, I think, would be someone like Colin Kaepernick, taking the ultimate risk with his career to make a point. And it's like, when I refer to that, and when I think about that rather, and referring to these names in the poem, it's very much each of those figures put a big risk upon what they were doing by coming and making a firm stand. The tone is, I think, more personally in a sense of with jazz, and I know that in recent times, again, there's other generations are bringing this to the fore in their work. But I think, given the history just within jazz of protest and civil rights and the connection and making, life better and fairer for more people who haven't had it in the past, it still feels like it is. There should and could be more. If not now, with everything that's been hyper focused due to the extra pressures of this terrible pandemic, then then when? And I wonder if in the coming months and the next year or two, we're not going to see more work reflecting these harder questions. This music has survived and helped people survive, dare I say it, even worse scenarios. It has been the glue and the ignition in people's, the positivity in their spirits to put things securely, and strongly in their thoughts that we can work forwards towards something better. As I said, one of the toughest things in reading about John Lewis is his peace with the idea that it's only a small amount of progression that may be made after all of this effort, after all of this risk to life, that he was at peace with not seeing it through. He was at peace with, the risk of death. It's early on in some of these books that you are completely, it's like a complete gradient upward. It's brutal. There's no gradual dealing with a thing so basic and so in your face. It's literally 1 or 0. It's like the risks are total. Lots of work addressing this is being inspired now. Well, at least I hope so. So and I say that just having listened to half of Busta Rhymes' new album on the way down, and it's just the power and the energy. He's going straight in the earliest seconds of this album. There's no doubt. You couldn't put it in another year as to when something like that was released. So there we go. Someone with that kind of seniority is firmly putting, nailing his position to the mast. So I hope and I think there's more to come out of our jazz scenes to address this kind of stuff.
So you're talking about Busta Rhymes,
yeah,
a legendary figure from hip hop.
Yes,
who has written some incredible lyrics over the years, and he's written some more frivolous lyrics as well. I mean, his range is quite wide. Coming back to you,
yeah.
you have done many different projects in lots of contexts, from working as a solo pianist to a great duo with the violinist Omar Puente.
Yeah.
Leading 6 or 7 piece groups, Panacea, and then having your trio, which has been a steady vehicle for you over the years. And you're leading the trio for this Radar Commission. Saleem Raman is on drums, Tom Mason is on bass. Can you tell me about how you've actually devised the arrangement for this piece, insofar as the trio is working with the recorded text, and the recorded text comes in at very, very specific points. It's kind of spread throughout the whole composition. So let's talk about the actual arrangement and that balance between the recorded text and the music.
I delved a little into some of my experiences writing a choir piece a few years ago, which called Invocation. The idea to think, I guess, around the pacing of the words being central. So I wrote the poem first. And so the way things push and pull, the tension, the lists of names, the questioning, you were just asking me about the more sort of accusatory tone, were things that I think when we come to play, there are definitive beginnings. And I say that because as pre-recorded, we can't really change with the timings once something has started. So it is about each time we've been able to rehearse and practice this, we're shaping ourselves around all the intentions and the meanings in the poem. We might help to underline certain phrases, certain lines, certain words with particular musical elements. But I hear this as something larger than a trio in potential. It's been great fun today to be able to run through this a number of times and delve in. as we've yet to gig it in front of people. We don't know when, so like everybody. So it's really doing this in a vacuum with the strong or stronger sense of John Lewis's achievements as the fuel to take the leap.